One of my pet peeves, I've been really annoyed about this lately, is when a full-grown man at like 30 years old has food preferences.
I was never the most talented kid growing up. We already talked about my size. So all I had was hard work. All I had was that drive to try and be better every single day.
The government is crushing these medium and small size businesses, and they're pushing it down onto the little guy, and then the little guy's left holding the bag.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Lat Chat. On today's episode, we are super excited to have our recently award-winning and chartered accountant, Pat El-bitar, on the show. Thanks for joining us, Pat.
Thanks for having me.
Pat is an absolute connoisseur of all things fitness, sport, bodybuilding, and of course, accounting. So thanks for coming on. And John, co-founder of Latitude Accountants.
I can't believe it. I've probably known you for 50 years, it feels like. But we finally got you on the podcast.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's like the pen license. Do you know what I mean? You got your pen license, we wheel you out from the back of the office, get you off the tax returns desk and chuck you in on the potty, mate.
If I knew that I just needed to get my CA to jump on, I would have tried to get it last year. But later, just a little bit.
That's it. Very good. Thanks for coming on, Pat. We appreciate it, and we're excited to have you on the show. And to start off with, we're going to do a bit of a agree and disagree. Pat, I know you're an avid listener, so you know how this works.
Yep.
But basically, hold up your paddle and tell me if you agree or disagree on the following.
Easy.
The first topic we've got, and because you're one of the guests, we're going to go to you. Most people don't really understand what an accountant does. Pat El-bitar.
I agree.
Most people don't understand. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although, John, I'm surprised you agree with that.
I might throw up a disagree.
I disagree.
All right.
Just because.
I'll go a genuine agree. Paddy, you go for it, bro.
Yeah, definitely agree. I didn't know what an accountant does growing up, to be honest. So, that's all I was going to say.
Sometimes I walk in
Yeah.
and I look around and I don't know what an accountant does because I see that some people are making reels, some people are doing push-ups, some guys are doing tax returns. You walk in on a Saturday, there's a podcast going on.
That's
Everyone
right.
who actually watches our reels, the Latitude reels, or sees us on socials, they go, bro, I want to come work at your office. It seems so fun. It looks like you guys do no actual work. You know what I mean? And I said, sometimes when I see the bills and the profit and loss, I feel like we do no actual work.
If only they knew what goes into being an accountant, doing work papers,
Absolutely.
putting it all together. Some people think it's just a tax return that we lodge. We're not form fillers. That's not what we do.
Absolutely. I think the most common misconception I have is that people think the best accountant is the one who gives you the biggest refund, which a lot of people don't know, but 70% of the refund is actually controlled by how much tax your employer has put aside. If they've put aside too much tax, you're getting a bigger refund. If they haven't put enough tax away, you're getting a tax payable. And so the right accountant is really who lodges the most accurate return.
Correct.
And understands your situation. So I think that is a common misconception. Any other comments or thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I would say most people don't understand that the accountant is actually someone that is going to actually help you make money.
For sure.
Because if you come to your accountant and you're bringing them in the conversation, I always say to my new accountants, there's 5 things you should not do before you call us. Number 1, if you're buying or selling vehicles. Number 2, buying or selling real estate. Number 3, you're drawing money from your business or taking dividends. Number 4, you're hiring employees. Or number 5, buying or selling a business or taking on a new partner. These are all potentially profit and money-making transactions you're going to have in your business. And the way you do those will dictate whether or not you make or lose money. An accountant has to be in that conversation. I want to be in that conversation with all my clients. I'm a professional conversation haver. If anything, do you know what I mean? We can do the tax, we can do the BAS, but I can train a monkey to do a tax return and a BAS. I swear, as God is my witness, I can train a monkey to do a BAS.
That's a famous typical that quote.
But you can't train a good accountant.
For sure.
It's very hard to train someone to advise someone on transactions every day. And the conversations we have with our clients is what makes us a good accountant or not.
100%. Love to hear it. That's very cool. All right. So being an accountant was my dream job. Agree or disagree? I'm going to go actually with agree on this one. Pat, you've gone to disagree. So again, I'm going to
dream
shoot over to you. Yeah. So being an accountant was my dream
Are
job.
we talking about growing up or when we?
Being an accountant. Nathan didn't specify the the things on here.
Let's go with the
let's say
childhood
growing
dream.
up.
Childhood dream.
Yeah.
Very similar to most kids coming out of Western Sydney. I wanted to be an NRL player.
Yeah, fair.
I think John, you can attest to that as well.
Yeah, man. That's one of the reasons why we know each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Footy background.
Can you
connection.
for anyone who doesn't know, can you tell us? Let's just replay the interview when John hired Pat.
I want to hear from Pat's perspective than my perspective.
Funnily enough, we did not talk about accounting whatsoever during the job interview. We talked about
Paint the picture of when you walk in.
Walk
What's it
in,
look
what's
like?
happening?
Okay, cool.
What year is it?
So a good friend of ours, Eli
2018,
Mardini.
2019.
Yeah, it's 2019. It was June 29. I think it was early June 2019. Because I started on the 6th, which was the next day after the interview. I started the day after my interview. Big Eli Mardini told me, "Matt, I've got a job opportunity for you. Would you be keen?" I said, "Yeah, why not? Yeah, shoot through. I'll send you through my resume. You can forward it on. We'll go from there." Anyways, we sent it to, I think Ellie sent it to Tufig, and it wasn't until 2 months later I got a call. I think it was from you.
Yeah.
You may have called me.
I called, yeah.
Yeah, and you introduced yourself. We booked the meeting for the next day. I told my boss, "Look, I can't come into work." I was working as a Sparky at the time. Came into the job interview. I had no idea what I was getting into, okay? When I thought it was Latitude, I actually made the same mistake that a lot of our callers make, and I thought it was Latitude Financial.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this corporate accounting? What am I getting into? Anyways, I rock up to the building, and very soon I realized that it's a tax accounting practice. I did zero research. I had no idea what an accountant did at the time. I walked upstairs, met John.
What was
that like?
Paint the picture.
Yeah.
He was wearing a white shirt and shorts. And he walked in from the gym, and I'm like, this is my kind of guy, you know? I love the gym. I've always been into the gym. So I'm like, I think I'll get along with him. We walk in, and it was a very casual conversation. I was very nervous. I'm a very nervous person in general, especially in new environments.
Yeah.
And we had a chat. Very quickly, it turned to, he looked at my resume and he said, "Coaching. You coached at St. John's?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you know Fatty Gannam?" I go, "Of course I do." And we went from there. He talked about his past at St. John's, how he won first 13s. I was telling him about how I started coaching. And we went from there.
From my perspective, you walked in, right? I found out I was today years old when I found out you were working as a Sparky when you came to me. There's something I want to promise you about John Sardi in 2019. I did not read your resume. That's the first thing.
You had it in front of you.
Yeah, I probably read it in the meeting. I'll see what's on it. And I saw it said, "Coach." You walk up the stairs, I see a young Lebanese kid come in. And by the way, I want to say special mention to Eli Mardini. He's the only person, I've hired dozens of people. He's the only person who's ever resigned but said to me, "It's all good, I've got someone else lined up for you." And
What a way to resign, bro.
handed in a resume on the way out.
Resigning, this is what you have
This
to
is what you do. If you're going to quit your job, you got to line up someone for your boss because it's actually a very nice guy. So we love Eli.
Yeah.
Eli introduced us to you. You walk up the stairs. I see this, what I now call a hydraulic press, because a cylindrical type human walk into my office, a little bit nervous, itchy, nervous, like he's freaking out, but I just see a good kid, and then I see he's cut from the same cloth, you know what I mean? Western Sydney boy, punch bowl boy, Lebanese family, and then the magic was that you played for and were coaching at St. John's Eagles, bro. And bro, Zumbas are like the Zumba crew and the St. John's crew, the nostalgia we have, like when you see someone from that community, it's a bit like nepotism, maybe. Like I fell in love with your affiliation to our football team, but you connected me with the best time in my life, which is being 15 years old with all my mates, winning a rugby league grand final in the first 13s for the St. John Eagles. Anyone who knows anything about Canterbury Bankstown Rugby League or Junior Rugby League, winning first 13s at St. John's Eagles is one of the best things you can do. We set up that whole season from the beginning of the year to win that comp. We went to Narrabeen to do pre-season training camp. John. They still do that. We sat down and Fatty Gannam, the coach, he said he listed this is the goals for the year. We got 4 goals. Number 1, win the grand final. The next 3 was like, how are we going to do that? 3 passes on the try line. We never concede more than 4 tries. No one will miss more than 2 training sessions in the year. And if everyone in the team does these 3 things, we'll win the grand final. And we're a new team. We were formed that year, and we all came together. And
what a visionary!
We won. We ended up winning the comp.
That's good coaching, bro. That's
So we saw you come in, and you took me back to the happiest time of my life. So by the time we had that chat about footy, I was feeling happy, and I'm like, well, perfect. Ellie recommended you. Yeah. Your resume was great. I looked at it for 3 seconds, but it was perfect. And you were St. John's Eagles. You were in.
I think at the end of the interview, you said, so when do you want to start? And I said, when do you want me to start? You said, tomorrow. I go, I've got a job, kind of, I'll let you know. And I called you back and I said, yeah.
And then you went home and you said to your mum, oh, mum, you won't believe it. I got a job at Latitude Financial Services. Have you seen those Alec Baldwin ads?
That's exactly what I said. Nah.
That's the best. Very good.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good time. Great interview. Hopefully the last interview I'll ever do in my entire life.
I love to see it. Love to hear it. Ironically, I'll give you Tufik's perspective out of all that. The reason there was a 2-month delay, from what I understand from Tufik, is that he was so angry that Ellie had left. So he refused to call these recommendations.
I remember the conversation now. Tufik walks into my office. He's got the paper. He's like, John, listen. Ellie, like, he came, bro. 2 weeks. He was here 2 weeks, and we paid him, and bro, we trained him and that, and then he just left on us and that. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, bro, I remember Ellie. He was a good kid, but it was far from home. Whatever. He had to leave. It wasn't for him. He goes, look, I didn't tell you, but I was angry, but he gave me this resume, and it's one of his mates who wants an accounting job. Do you think because he left us, we should just chuck it in the bin, or should we give him a go? I said, let me have a look at it, bro. Next thing you know, Patrick's in the office, bro. He's hired. So once Tiffy got over his feelings, that the recommendation came from a trader. Who's not a trader, but we got you through.
Take the chance, people. Take the chance. Very good. All right. I'll flash to my story. So, being an accountant was my dream job. I always share this story whenever I'm doing a presentation, but I wanted to be a doctor up until year 3 because I'm Egyptian and that's what you have to do. But then in year 3, I did a maths test that University of New South Wales put on. It was $5 to enter the maths test. That was big money for me and my family back then. So I was heavily invested in it. I did the test and I ended up with a high distinction. I've even got the certificate till this day. Ended up with a high distinction. So I knew I sort of wanted to do something maths related. And then in year 9, I had a bit of a rowdy class, went to a public school, and they just played reruns of The Celebrity Apprentice, or The Apprentice at the time. Donald Trump was the Apprentice, ironically, at the time. And I just fell in love with business. I fell in love with just the deals, the culture, everything about it. I loved it. And so I thought, what's the love child of a business, and then numbers. And then if they have a baby, it would be an accountant. So from that day on, I decided to be an accountant. I saw the UTS building. I said, I'm going to go to that uni. I got the exact ATAR that I needed to get in there. And it was, ever since, it's been a great decision for me.
Man.
But
I'm glad you did it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
I'm glad
because
to
you're
be
here now. For me, accounting wasn't my dream job, but being a practical, logical thinker, it solved so many problems for me. The first reason I was like 100% want to be an accountant is because I want all the missing information. I need all that missing information about industry, business, money, because we don't have any money, bro. And if anyone's going to know how I'm going to get money, it's going to be accountants. So I'm going to go learn how to be an accountant so I can learn where the money's at so I can go get it. That was number one. Number two, I also realized that my family and our area, I grew up in Greenacre in Western Sydney, the son of an immigrant dad, who didn't come from much and didn't have a lot, even though he's a very good dad and my mum was very good. They didn't have education on how you move forward, investing, property, taxes, structures, the things I talk about every day to all my clients. They didn't have that information. And I thought, man, there's something different about how we live and how some people in better areas, eastern suburbs, lower North Shore, the Shire, how they live, even people in our areas, even across, like a stone's throw away from Greenacre is Strathfield. I'm like, how are the people in Strathfield living like that? Yeah. And we're here in Greenacre, 15 people in a house struggling to make ends meet. You know what I mean? My dad's a cabbie, was struggling to make ends meet. I need to know how I'm going to climb my way out of this situation. And I know one thing, if I know how to do it, I can do it. I just need the information. So the accounting thing was like, I'm going to learn numbers. I'm going to learn how I can get out of this situation. And I want to pull myself, my community and people out of this situation where like money is always tight. And I got into it, and the more and more I started doing it, I was like, I actually love this job. And you know what? It actually does that.
Yeah.
Accounting teaches you the basics of money.
Sure.
It's like the missing subject in school.
Yeah.
If you're in school and they taught you accounting, you taught you profit and loss, balance sheet, money management, we would solve so many problems. We're lucky because it's 2025 and people have the real teacher, which is TikTok, telling them how to make money and whatever. Because the hard thing now, there's too much information. You
Yeah.
have to filter through all the lies online and all
Yeah.
the fake business coaches and influencers.
That's right.
But we had a lack of information, so I needed to go get the information. Soon as I got the information, I put it into practice, and exactly what I thought would happen happened, and we climbed out of that scenario.
I'd like to change my answer
Yeah.
for one reason.
Oh yeah.
I really pivoted around 15 years old when I realized I was too small to make rugby league.
Yeah.
And when I say too small, I was tiny.
Yeah.
There was no chance. Kurt Batiste was the shortest player in the NRL at the time,
How tall was he?
and he was taller than me.
How tall is, you know?
I think he's 168, 169.
Okay,
I
yeah.
was 163 at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I'm 166 now.
Yeah.
Even so, Kurt Batiste is a freak, all right, and that's why he made it. And there's no other short player, right? So I pivoted to my academics, and I was really good at business studies in year 11. And my business studies teacher actually put me onto accounting. She said, your best subject is finance. What's finance? In business studies, it's actually not real finance. You're actually learning about profit and loss and balance sheets. So it was an introduction to accounting to a degree. And she told me, have a crack at accounting. So I applied for early entry, Macquarie Uni, Bachelor of Professional Accounting. At the time, it was a Bachelor of Commerce. So I had more options. And that's how I got into accounting. And it was the best decision I ever made.
Very cool. It's a very cool story. Speaking of, this is a off the cuff random one, but speaking of being short, have I ever told you the way I found out I was short? I didn't know I was short for a long time. I don't know if you know this.
Please tell me how you found out you were short.
You found out you were
I
short?
found
You
out
didn't
you-
just...
you
I would
knew.
imagine you'd use a mirror or a measuring tape.
No. You know, I'll tell you
So in
why.
a house with no mirrors and
Yeah.
measuring tapes, how did you
I'll tell
find
you-
out that you
I'll
were
tell you
short?
how.
No, they're very expensive items. I'll tell you how. So basically, when I was in year 5, year 6, I was the tallest kid in school because I peaked very early and I just stopped growing ever since, right? So you know how you do the school photos? I was at the apex, bro. If I show you the school photos, I'm right in the middle, smack bang in the middle, you know, beautiful. Anyway, then so I never realized everyone else was getting taller and I was staying the same height, but I didn't know.
That's like inflation. It's like putting money in the
Correct.
bank.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I could be 20, 21 at the time, right? And I'm sitting next to my manager at Nexia, and she was quite tall for a woman, and she was wearing heels. She had a client meeting on the day, and she was wearing heels. And I went over to ask her a question. I sat next to her, and I went over to ask her a question, and we were both. I stood up and sort of went over to her, and I said, "Hey, I don't want to say her name, but hey, I need some help with whatever it is." And she turned over. She was like, "Oh, she's like, hey, what's up, shorty?" And I said, "What are you talking about, short? Who are you calling short? I'm not short."
How old are you?
20, 21. Anyway,
21
wait,
years old.
wait,
So
yeah.
no girls had spoken to you till 21.
But this is the problem. I could get girls, no problem. So it wasn't. There was no barrier. There was no. I was a happy, short young kid. Anyway, then I said, "What do you mean, shorty, bro?" She gets up with her heels, and I'm standing up. She gets up and towers over me, and I look up at her for the first time in my life. I felt like I was looking up to someone, and she goes, "What do you mean you're short?" I said, "Jane, I'm not short." And then so the rest of the next 30 minutes, I'm standing next to people and measuring if I'm taller than them or not.
Yeah.
And I realized I was taller than no one. So that's
Do you know
how I
what?
found
Your
out I was short,
demographic
bro.
plays a part too, because if you grew up in like a socioeconomic area where everyone was your ethnicity, or like where you grew up was like say Filipino area, a lot of
Yeah, I did,
Filipinos, and the Filipinos
That's right.
aren't on average very
That's
tall.
right,
So
that's
you
right.
in the Philo community are probably on average.
Well, I'm a giant.
Well, at least average or maybe a bit taller.
Yeah.
But then you go to where in the city working with like
That's right.
Europeans, and they're white, they're all from lower North Shore, eastern suburbs, you're half their height.
So my school was very multicultural. So we had all sorts of shapes and sizes. And my nickname was Malteser because of how round and short I was.
That's great.
Right? So I knew really early on how short I was. And then when I went into high school, the bag was bigger than me. The year 12s used to carry it for me. So I was blessed. And they used to squeeze my cheeks and say, oh, you're so cute, you're so cute.
Speaking
We
of
still do
cute,
that.
I gotta jump in, bro.
Yeah, bro.
You become a CA.
Yeah.
You call your mum, bro. What a beautiful video
Bro,
this
that
is
was
of you
so
calling
nice,
your mum.
bro.
But she chucks out one of the classic Lebo mum lines of all time. When you say, Mum, what's going on? She goes, oh, I've made them jadra for dinner. And you're like, oh, I'm jadra, that's all right. Firstly, no one ever said them jadra, that's all right. You're just very
In
nice.
my head.
Okay? Because the thing that when you get in the car after school and you say, hey, Mum, what'd you make for dinner? If Mum says them jadra, you're like, bro, you're angry. It's ruined your whole day.
ruined
You know,
your whole day.
there's no money that week. There's no meat in that food.
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna go home, eat food you hate. You're so nice. You're like, that's good. But this is the best part of that clip. Then you say to your mum, guess what? I passed CA. And then she goes, well, tell me what you want me to make you. I'll make you something better because you obviously passed the CA. Like she's recognised that they've judged us here.
Right.
And then there's something, you
Even-
should get something better.
Right off the get-go,
Yeah.
when he calls up, we couldn't have staged this any better. This was live. He calls up his mum, what are you doing? Cooking.
Yeah, cooking. Yeah.
I'm making him
You can't make it up, right?
make it up.
It's your standard Lebanese mum just doing her thing.
Bro.
And it was so funny, especially because it was on a Friday as well. I kind of knew she would be making mjadra because most Fridays she's making mjadra.
Yeah.
And so
Every day I would go to Punch Bowl Station. There was 2 ways I used to get home. Either mum will come in the Tarago to pick me up because we had 6 kids in the family, or I would catch the bus home, okay? And my juddu would pick me up because he was the bus driver, but different story. Mum will come pick me up. She'd jump in the car. This is how the conversation went every day. Oh, hey, Johnny, how are you? Good, Mum. How was your day? Good. Did anything happen? No. Mum, what'd you make for lunch? And then whatever came out of her mouth next would make or break my evening. And there was nothing worse than these 3 foods. Mjadra, kusa mahshi, or macarona. If she said macarona, kusa mahshi, or mjadra, I swear to God, bro, I went from cloud 9 to the angriest kid in all of Greenacre and Punch Bowl.
Can I ask, does this still happen on a daily basis?
I'm gonna add to that list. When I was younger, Beme and Lubie,
Oh, bro,
I could
forget
not
it.
stand.
When I was young.
Bro.
When I was younger, that's all changing
Being
now.
Lebanese in Greenacre, I swear to God, bro, God is my witness. If I got off the bus, it's about 900 meters from my house, and my mum was cooking batanjan on the stove, eggplant, I could smell the burnt batanjan smell from the bus stop. And I was angry from the bus stop all the way home, bro, because only one person in my whole house that liked batanjan, that was my dad. And then the problem was we all hated it and it stunk. And forgive me, all the batanjan activists and lovers. I love eggplant now. It's great. But then my dad, there was the mental torture of my dad sitting looking at me saying, "Why don't you like it?" Dad, I don't like it. No, you have to eat it. Dad, I don't like it. Please. It's like, no, you have to eat it. Open your mouth, eat it. And then I would have to force feed myself batanjan to make my dad happy.
Yeah.
That's so funny. You know what I was... This is funny we say this, bro. Don't worry about the accounting. Let's just tell more stories. I was on the boys chat and I said one of my pet peeves, I've been really annoyed about this lately, is when a full grown man at like 30 years old has food preferences.
Yeah.
Brother, wake
grow
up to yourself.
Grow up.
Grow up. My father-in-law tells me stories
Yeah.
about how in the war in Iraq, brother, they were eating bread, whatever. Literally, the true story is that they were eating rat poo.
Nah.
I swear to you,
Wow.
rat poo mixed.
That sounds
with,
unhygienic, bro.
brother.
I don't
Nothing about
condone
war
this
is
message.
hygienic. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Rat poo with like flour, and they would mush it up.
Bro, I'm gonna
that would
have
keep
to
them-
fact check you on that.
Oh,
There's no way
rat
someone
poo.
can eat rat poo and survive.
This is the story
would
I've
they eat
heard.
the rats?
This is the story. The
you
rats
eat
poo,
rats?
brother. They had no protein. They were in war. They were getting bombed. What
There's
what
no
food?
chance, bro.
What in war? How are you gonna say? Oh yeah,
But I'm
does that
winning.
rat poo? Is that almond milk in that rat poo?
Can you pull that up, Jamie?
Can we make
No chance.
You know what? You
Pull it up, Jamie.
you can fact check.
No
This is hearsay. I will be honest. This is hearsay.
I am here for
But,
all the people of Iraq. When I say there's no chance they eat rat poo.
That's what I'm hearing.
Especially my hairdressers, bro. Those guys hold razors to my face and neck every time I go to get
the
my
best.
haircut. I'll never say they're eating
So
They
rat
have
poo.
the
food
best hair
preferences.
and
I have a
skin
problem
ever.
with it now.
Who, Iraqis?
The Iraqi
Yeah, bro.
hairdressers.
They're the best hairdressers.
Best skin and best hair.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Bro, you know the thing about Iraqi hairdressers in Sydney? When you go in, There's about 20 of them in 20 different places. Doesn't matter wherever I am, and I'm not that loyal. I go like to all of them. Wherever I go in, they look at me. Hey, Habib, how are you? Shake my hand, so nice and polite.
Yep.
And then they remember my haircut. They always remember. They sit down and I say, yeah, just whatever, normal. Oh, how do you like to cut it? And this is a guy I haven't seen in 3 years. I go, oh, just do a zero fade. I go, do it on a half. He goes, no. He goes, last time I cut it for you, it was zero.
It's been 3 years.
What do you mean? I have it, bro. You've cut 10 million haircuts since I saw you last. How do you remember if mine was half or zero or one? Like he just remembers.
Are you sure he's not mistaking you for another Lebanese man?
Yeah, maybe I just look like all the other Lebs. Yeah, you know what? He only does zero fades. So he's thinking, brother, there's one haircut, it's zero fade. If you say any other number, it does not exist.
He has the same conversation with every bloke that's sitting in the chair thereafter.
Is it fine? Why do you want to do half? That's silly.
But you know, property in Iraq, in Baghdad, is so expensive.
Yeah, I've been
seriously?
hearing this.
Bro, I was speaking to my hairdresser. They're selling their family home in Iraq, bro. I thought Iraq, Baghdad, that was like a war zone. They're selling a 900 square meter block in Australian dollars for 1.8 million.
Whoa.
They're selling it. They're bringing the money here to buy property in Sydney.
That's
On what
Sydney
planet
prices.
did you think you could sell property in Baghdad to buy Sydney property?
Crazy.
That's how expensive Baghdad is. I'm starting to think that Sydney's cheap.
I think we should land
think
bank
we're
Baghdad or Sydney. I can't decide which one.
I'd like to disagree. I think we're ranked second for most expensive, maybe even first.
Bro, I don't know how, but apparently it's a real shit fight in Baghdad. Everyone's going like, bro, the property price.
But is that the four clues of Baghdad?
Brother,
is it the book of four
Tom
clues?
Panos is going to be jumping on his lives talking about the Baghdad property market and the auction clearance rate.
I need to see the clearance rate of the Baghdad property. No, but still good.
Is it easier to get finance over there?
Brother, cash only over there.
Cash
I
only?
dare say. All right, let's go back to accounting. As much as I'd love to tell stories here, everyone who is capable should go to the gym. Pat, we've brought this question up with you because we know you're a gym connoisseur.
Yep.
And actually, I've been seeing some push-ups around the office. I'm not going to mention any names, but everyone who's capable should go to the gym. Pat, thoughts?
Disagree.
I disagree
capable should
just
go to the
because I think people that are, when you say capable,
I'm going to agree.
when you say capable,
Yes.
I think people that suffer from disability should go to the gym as well.
Oh, nice. See what
Yeah.
you've done there. Okay, so you're saying everyone should go to the gym. Full
Everyone
stop.
should go to the gym or do some
Wow.
type of physical activity,
Yep,
whether
right.
that is light or heavy, whatever suits you. I think you should do whatever you enjoy. I think that's the key to staying consistent. There's no other way to word it. When
You're a physical powerhouse, Pat.
Yeah.
All right. The one thing I like about you is you do a cracker tax return, but you lift more weight pound for pound than anyone I've ever met. All right.
thank you. Yeah.
So how do you think your mindset plays a part in your training and your lifting?
Yep. So my dad really instilled hard work, like towards me and my brothers.
Pat, can I stop you there? There's
Yeah.
a big quote you always say. What's the quote?
Which quote?
There's a quote. If I say, what's your favourite quote? I'll tell you if you don't know your favourite quote because I know your favourite quote and you don't.
Yeah.
But you're...
Hard work beats talent when
Correct.
talent doesn't work hard enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my favorite quote.
Story.
I was never the most talented kid growing up. We already talked about my size. So all I had was hard work. All I had was that drive to try and be better every single day. So that the mindset that you talk about, it was simply show up every day, make sure that you get the reps in. Everything else will come later. Okay. The greatest equalizer in life is age. So I knew that it would come. I knew everything else would come. All I needed to do was be patient and rock up. So that's what I do to work in accounting, to the gym, and every other aspect in my life. That's what I try and do best.
Love to hear it. I completely agree with that. I think a healthy body is a healthy mind. And I think that older I get, not that I'm old, I'm still 32, so I'm still, in my, I'd like to say in the youth of my life. But I feel like the healthier you are, the more efficient you'll be at work, the better you'll feel, the clearer you'll think. And as you start to get a little bit older, you start to put obviously more and more value on your health. You can't, in your 20s, you can, whatever form you needed to lift the bar was good enough. But as you age, you start to appreciate get into the gym just to get things moving, get things happening. I've been trying to go for a walk recently every morning, and it's just beautiful, bro. I've likened it to what were they doing 20 years ago, or not even 20 years, what were they doing a few hundred years ago? First thing they woke up, what do I think they're doing? I think they're on the move. I've been doing not cold showers, but like last 30 seconds of my shower, I've been doing cold. Why? I'm thinking, what do they do when
chlorine
they get up?
water in your house?
Chlorine water that we found out. But they don't get up and have hot showers because there was no hot showers. So what do? They get up and have either room temperature showers, or they go in for a swim in the water. Correct. So I've been doing that, and I feel like I'm feeling healthier. I'm feeling more clear. I'm feeling better. What do you think, John?
Everyone who are capable should go to the gym. I said disagree because I'm not against physical activity. I've had so many gym memberships in my life, and every time I look back at my gym membership ROI, I reckon I pay a month's membership for every time I go to the gym once. And I've had like double and triple memberships at times, and they're priced so perfectly. This is a marketing expertise. Gym memberships are priced so perfectly that you will pay them for 5 years and not go because you can't be bothered turning it off. All right. And it's just right at that right price point where you don't care.
Doesn't hurt enough.
It doesn't hurt enough. So why I don't like some gyms is like, I think the model of gyms, which is, hey, just pay, come anytime you want and train on your own, leave. Like that works only for a certain type of mindset, a certain type of dedication, or a certain type of routine person or driven person. Vast majority of people, that system does not work. What works is community. So I love the gyms that build a community where you can go and you can participate in that gym, and you're not there just to exercise. You're there because you're with people who have the same values as you. They make you laugh. They're fun. If you're young guys and girls, you're flirting with one another. You're looking for a boyfriend, a girlfriend. If you're older, you're having a laugh with the guys, the girls, whatever. There's something there other than the physical activity that draws you. And these communities are why things like run clubs are now getting popular.
Yep.
So if you're capable, find a community where you can exercise, whether that's playing OzTag, footy, soccer, run club, going to maybe an F45 or maybe a CrossFit gym or maybe a lifting gym, or just anything that gets you away from paying that monthly fee for no reason and enriching some, whatever gym owner there is when they're actually not giving you any value or any community.
For sure. So can I just stop you there? If I were to change this, to everyone who is capable should do exercise, agreed? Would you flip your paddle and say agree?
Yeah. Everyone, bro, we're just so fat and disgusting. We need to really get. I'm talking about myself. We need to get like back into it as a society.
The biggest thing is you need to do something you enjoy. I will emphasize that till the day I die. Sure. Because if you don't enjoy it, you're never going to be consistent with it, and you're just going to stop after a few months. Okay, it's just a band-aid solution.
Yeah,
you need to fix the problem, and that's by finding something you enjoy. Fantastic. From a business perspective, linking it back, those gym memberships, the reason why they're so enticing and they're so cheap is because they actually account for inactive members.
Correct. Yeah.
So they have a quota that they try and reach, especially. Actually, we won't name and shame. But yeah, most of those commercial gyms, they hope to have inactive members, those New Year's resolutionists that are going to come for a week and not rock up for the rest of the year.
But I think in the long term, I've heard this in that they want like some sort of inactive memberships because it's just money rolling in. But I think over the long term, the winning business strategy is that if you have clients that aren't engaging with you, you're going to lose those clients eventually. And they're going to probably have a sour taste when they leave you. So I do encourage any business owner who has a subscription model, you can't have people on that list who are just paying you and you're doing nothing for them. I think, John, one of the things you've been drilling into the team recently is just reaching out to your clients, getting in front of them, whether it's via a call, Zoom, video, anything it takes to make sure the clients are engaged, John.
Our clients that are business owners pay us a monthly fee. Okay, and we force them to interact with us.
Yep.
Our clients will hear from us no less than 12 times a year, maybe even 24 times a year when you take into account newsletters and non-direct communications. We say to them every quarter, you're going to hear from us. We're going to go through your numbers. We're going to send you a video. We're going to send you an audio. We're going to tell you line by line by line why you're making profit, why you're making a loss, why there's money in the bank, why there isn't money in the bank. If you're not paying your accountant monthly, or regularly and they're not providing a service regularly, you don't have an accountant.
Yep.
End of story. I reach out to my clients and I say to them when they're not responding to me, I say, hey, you're paying me money. I really want to provide a service. Can you return my calls?
Yeah.
Can you return my emails? I don't like collecting money when I'm not doing anything. All right. So you need to be paying your accountant money, and the accountant should be getting in touch with you, and you should know when to get in touch with them. You should know that, hey, this is a significant decision. This involves money. This is out of the ordinary. This is something I'm doing which is a one-off. I have to call my accountant. If you do not think I will call my accountant before buying a property, you don't have an accountant. Yep. If you don't think I will call my accountant before I buy this car, you don't have an accountant. If you think I'm going to set up a company by myself online, I'm going to set up a family trust by myself online and not speak to anyone before I do that, you don't have an accountant. You have a professional monkey who knows how to lodge a tax return for you at the end of the year.
Form filler.
A form filler, and that's not a trust relationship.
Yep.
For sure.
On that note, we as we get clients that come in, we ask them what's wrong with your ex-accountant.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time it's, I can't reach them. I can't get on the
Very
phone.
common.
That's why communication is so important. Sure. Yesterday, I had a regular phone call with a client, and he won't mind me saying this. He said, "Thank you so much, Pat. I really appreciate it." I said, "What do I do?" He said, "You answered the phone." I go, "Thanks." I didn't know how to respond.
Yeah, 100%.
Isn't it so sad that you've got accountants out there that are willing to call themselves accountants, and they get a phone call, they don't call you back.
Yeah.
They don't call their clients back. How can you be someone's advisor? How can they trust you? How can they lean on you? And you don't even call them back. And then you got the nerve to send them a bill and charge them money?
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't charge your client money if you're not going to call them back.
Yeah.
We pride ourselves on call someone back same day. Email them back same day. Send them an email. Call them as well. Send them a voice note. Send them a video. Make sure they hear your name.
Yep.
Bro, I go to sleep at night, and if I'm falling asleep and I remember that I have not called someone back, or they message me and I didn't get back to them, you know how bad I feel?
Yeah.
And I literally have to stop myself from messaging someone at 11:30 p.m. because I look like a psycho.
Yesterday I called someone at 7:30. It was a Friday night. He's like, "Why are you calling me?" I said, "It's because you called me during the day and I didn't call you back. This is me calling me back." So it's not that urgent. We'll talk Monday.
Yeah, perfect.
That's it. Speaking of communicating with clients, we've got the last agree or disagree here. So clients value a casual conversation more than a strictly professional approach. Agree or disagree?
Hard agree for me.
Hard agree, John. Clients value a casual conversation more than a strictly professional. I'm gonna go in the middle here.
I'm in the middle.
You're in the middle.
Yeah,
it's horses for courses.
Yeah, it is.
Look, I always say I think you have to mirror your client to some degree, and some clients appreciate the casual approach. And I will say I don't. If being professional is talking in a different language to your client, I don't like that. So Einstein, one of my favorite quotes from Einstein is he says, "Genius is making something very complex very simple." And I think when you're communicating with your client, you have to understand that numbers aren't their first language sometimes, and you have to communicate in an effective approach to make sure that they understand what the heck you're saying and not talking, bigger terms than what a normal business owner would require. I think some clients you can be a bit more casual with. I think some clients want to feel like, we are at the end of the day a professional service and we are the trusted advisor. So some clients may want to see that in you, but I think you need to know your client. It's one of those know your client, which is something we drill on about a lot. So know your client, John.
Clients value a casual conversation more than a strictly professional approach. Hard agree. Hard agree. The biggest problem people have when they're approaching a professional service provider is that they feel like they're dumb or stupid, or that they can't ask questions, or this person's going to speak over me.
For sure.
And it's not fair. It's not fair that they don't have the knowledge, all right, and then they feel spoken down to. You have to go to their level and you have to speak on their level casually, because at the end of the day, it's one human speaking to another.
For sure.
And it's in your best interest to speak in a way they're going to understand in layman's terms and explain to them what's best and most beneficial for them. People hide behind professionalism because they're dumb. Your accountant is dumb. Do you know why your accountant acts professional? Your accountant acts professional because he doesn't know the answer.
Yeah.
Your accountant doesn't know the answer. He sits there and he says, "Well, I'll have to look. We cannot advise on that. That's not our area of expertise. If you'd like us to give you a more formal answer, please send us an email with your question and we'll get back." Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Your accountant doesn't know what you're talking about. He's hiding behind professionalism. The other thing your accountant's got a problem with, he's not real with who he is. He doesn't believe that he's good enough. He doesn't believe he or she is smart enough. So they're putting on a facade, all right, with their whatever appearance, suit, tie they've put together, and they think they're taking advantage of you. They think they're charging you way too much for the value they're bringing. So they're going to put on a facade that they're higher, mightier, better than you, so that when you get a bill for $4,000 more than what it should be, you're going to think, oh, well, they're so smart and important, that's why I have to pay them $4,000. Firstly, you don't have to pay way too much for accounting fees. There's other providers out there that charge you a fair fee. And secondly, if you feel like you're being spoken down to or they're not speaking to you in layman's terms, they're snake oil salesmen. They're selling you an image.
Yep.
They're not giving you advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Paddy?
Yeah, I'm on the fence. I start every single meeting or phone conversation casually.
Yep.
I ask them how they are, how was their day, and I let them set the terms of how the rest of the conversation will go. Sometimes that kicks on into footy talk. I talk to clients about footy a lot.
Yeah.
And then we get into the professional side of things, and it is still a casual-ish conversation. I would never use language that they wouldn't understand. I wouldn't use accounting terms too much, but that's why I sit on the fence. Yeah.
Very good. So similar
to you.
Getting a gauge and a feel of who you're talking to.
And some clients will reciprocate when we're talking casually. Some clients don't. They want to go straight into it. Yeah. I get it. You don't have time. Okay. We'll go straight into it.
For sure. All right, that's very cool. There's great thoughts there, something in there. All right, so now we'll go over to the questions portion of our podcast. I don't know if I'm supposed to read this out, but let's head over. We've done the agrees and disagree. By the way, that was supposed to take 20 minutes. It's been 42 minutes, give or take some stories.
It's floated.
That's it. So I've got a question for you. I need you to think about it for 5 seconds. John, you're going up first. All right. Why do small businesses fail? So they say 50% of small businesses don't make it past 5 years. I've heard bigger numbers, by the way, but why? What separates the survivors from the ones that crash and burn?
Why do small businesses fail in Australia? It's because the system is set up in a way to work against every single small business operator in this country. It's not fair that small business owners have to pay the amount of tax they pay. It's not fair that they have to take the amount of risk they take. And it's not fair the amount of support they get from government. The policy makers in this country have neglected small business owners for decade after decade, and that's resulted in a decline of the living standard that most Australians have. The small business economy is the backbone of Australia. When we don't support small business owners, we put GST pressure, director penalty notices, ATO going aggressively, general interest charges, late penalties, just smashing the small business owner, payroll tax, PAYG, all right? Lodgement obligation, compliance obligation, stacking. I don't say this because I want the small business owner to not comply. We encourage everyone to comply and we help them comply and we support them. But if I was saying, is it fair? It's not fair. And the reason why most of them fail, not because they're bad, not because they're no good. It's because you just have to be in the 1% of extreme individuals and have some luck go your way to survive a system that's stacked up against you.
For sure. Paddy?
Yeah. There's 2 things I want to talk about. The first thing is compliance. So I've been in this industry for 5.5 years now. You guys obviously have much more experience than I do. But in that 5.5 years, STP has been introduced. They've been more stringent on BASs, the most stringent possibly ever. Everything is going against the business owner, like you said, just to reiterate that point. Another point I want to make is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, I'm putting it back on the small business owner. Some people jump into business because they think it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's not, okay? You need to have a business plan. You need to make sure that you set up a budget. You need to make sure that you're not spending every dollar that you make, and you need to make sure that you understand your numbers. That's one of our missions here.
For sure.
And I truly believe that. If you don't understand your numbers and you don't plan, you're screwed from the get-go.
For sure. I'm going to say something that you'll probably hear me say quite often here. The Australian dream is to buy a home.
Yep.
The American dream is to start a business. And I think in this country we have it backwards, because starting a business is a far more productive thing to do and is a far more noble thing to do than simply buying a home, both of which are great things that I aspire for every Australian. But I think everything comes from the small business owner. Every community, every piece of production comes from that small business owner. And I think we have a vision problem in this country where we do not encourage people to go out and start businesses like they do elsewhere in the world. That is a point we need to go back on, especially with the economic challenges that we face at the moment. So number one is we have a vision problem. We need to back the small business owner, and all of those compliance issues and all of these things come off the back of policies that are made by people who have never registered an ABN in their life, trying to tell business owners how to operate and run a business. And even if I take it back to uni, you're getting taught business by people who have never registered an ABN in their life. There's something to that doesn't sit right with me. That's number one. Number two is that there is obviously some onus on the business owner. There's two things I hear. You sometimes when you sit in the room with a potential business owner, you can very well pick who is going to succeed and who is not. And let me tell you who's not going to succeed. The person that comes in and says, I want to start a business, and I say, fantastic, I'd love to hear about it. This is great. If they have a short-term play, like this thing's trending right now and I want to have a crack at it, that's not a long-term vision that's going to build a business. It's a bit short-sighted. The other one that does my head in is I want to start a business because I want freedom, flexibility, and I want to have more time. Let me tell you something about running a business. You can kiss all those things goodbye, at least for a period. For a season, you are going to have to understand that you are going to have no time, you are going to have no money, you are going to be working 24/7, and to some degree, you have to go through a season like that to make it work, because if you're not willing to do that, no one else is willing to do that for you. So if that's your outset right from the get-go, I think you need to reshape your mindset and the way you work. So I think if business owners go into business understanding that to build a business, you need to solve a problem, you need to understand your numbers, you need to manage your tax compliance, you need to have a long-term approach, a vision, a mission, a purpose for even starting this thing, I think you're going to be far more successful, John.
We've got a huge cross-section of clients that are successful in business, but I'm not going to sit back here and put all the blame on business owners.
Sure.
We live in an economy where we've got a net decrease in GDP per capita. Yeah. We're in a recession, and we are expecting business owners to bear the brunt of the recession. Sure. You have a GST cap of $75,000. I'm sorry, why should a business owner who makes $75,000 a year pay GST when $75,000 a year won't even let you survive paying rent and paying for your groceries?
Which, by the way,
why is that number 75,000? That's been the same for 20 years. 75,000 is not going to cut it. Why does a business owner struggle to get a loan for 20 grand to start their business, but you walk into a bank, they'll give you a credit card to go buy anything you want or subscribe to OnlyFans. Yep. But if you walk in and say, hey, I want 20 grand to start a business, the bank won't speak to you.
Yeah.
Why does the ATO put the pressure on you? You need to pay huge costs to set up a company, huge costs to lodge BAS, basically keep up with all your lodgement obligations and provide no government support for these initial costs, when these are the small business owners that are supporting the economy and paying the taxes and keeping things rolling forward. It's because they've been forgotten. Small business owners are forgotten, and we have to advocate for them.
100%.
And if the politicians don't start to advocate for them, well, then the accountants have to start advocating for them.
Do you think that should increase with indexation? So GST 100%. Limits, the tax brackets that haven't been changed in years.
Tax brackets, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Tax brackets have not changed for a very long time. They went to do stage 3 tax cuts, and they determined that because we had a change in government, that we're going to apply the stage 3 tax cuts differently in a way that wasn't solving the actual problem. The actual problem, and the reason you you change the tax brackets is that inflation takes a middle income earner into becoming a high income earner, when, by the way, they're still living paycheck to paycheck like most middle income earners do. But we failed to raise the tax brackets to keep up, and everyone gets upset because we need to distribute the wealth evenly, which is okay. We need to distribute the wealth evenly, but you've neglected that business owner who has successfully come out of a bad situation and has moved to becoming a middle income earner and will forever stay there because our policy won't allow them to move even further.
You got a $75,000 a year ABN holder. The sole trader comes into the office. Let's say they're making $80,000 a year.
Yeah.
They have to spend $25,000 a year on rent. Okay, their food, just to live, to pay for groceries, to get through the week, food and petrol, it's going to be another $500 a week, another $25,000. Now you're at $50,000. Okay, all their other living costs, okay, have to come out of the remaining $30,000. But guess what? They're going to pay their income tax. You're going to hit them with a $15,000 income tax bill.
Yep.
And then after everything's said and done, you're going to hit them with anything up to an $8,000 GST bill. That $75,000 number was made up who knows when, never been indexed. The government keep doing it to us. They never they set prices or levels in stone. These should be set with inbuilt mechanisms to be indexed year on year. So rather than these guys having to struggle and pay that bill when it comes, naturally every year they're going to be indexed up to a level that's acceptable. Instead, what we have is a scheme where politicians can come out and say, oh, I'm so good, I raised the GST threshold from $75,000 to $100,000 and I'm giving small business owners a tax break. Bro, the inflation was more than the tax break.
Yeah, 100%.
You haven't accounted for inflation. Like when that number came in, 75,000, that's the equivalent of $150,000 or $200,000 today.
Yeah.
Why does a business owner who makes 75 grand have to pay $8,000 of GST, $7.5 grand of GST? Yet an average employee is making $100,000 a year. You're making less than an average employee, and you're hitting them with an $8,000 tax bill.
And it's more the compliance. We have to remember GST is not a tax on the business owner; it's a tax on the consumer. But the business owner is the one who's responsible for collecting and remitting the tax. They're basically the middleman and the compliance officer between the ATO and the consumer. Yeah. So why are we putting a burden? When as you get bigger in business, sure, there will become more burdens with that size. But the $75,000 earner is not ready for the burden of collecting and remitting GST. Bro, my initial client meetings, 10 years ago, I used to watch initial client meetings and they were 15, 20 minutes. I could sit down for an hour and still not finish the things I was supposed to say of the amount of compliance that they have to go by because I'm scaring them away from even getting into business. It's insane.
It's getting to the point, if you've got a client who comes in and says, I make $75,000 a year, I need to set up a company, ABN, lodge BASs, single touch payroll, year-end financials, tax return, ASIC annual fee, annual review. It's almost like you say to them, I start those meetings, say, how much are you going to make? I'm going to make 75, 80,000. I say, listen, what we really need to talk about today is how you're going to make 200,000. Because $75,000 a year, you're not going to survive as a business owner. I'm sorry, the government doesn't care about you. I'm sorry they've set the threshold at $75,000, when now you're going to bear $4,000 to $6,000 a year of compliance cost, plus $7,000 of GST cost, and you only make $75,000 a year. The government doesn't care about you. My job now as the advisor is to help take you from $75,000 a year of income to $175,000, so you have a chance of surviving in this rubbish economy.
Yeah, and just a final note, because I'm loving this good ranting session. I feel better at the end of it. I should hold the hands of kumbaya. But one of the big problems I see with business owners, and I was going to put this on my stories, I need to do that. If your turnover is somewhere between $0 and $250,000, it sounds like a big number for anyone who hasn't started a business, but at the end of the day, if that's your turnover and you're stuck at that place, you have not created a business, you have created a job. And it is a very difficult job where you are wearing all the hats you are wearing initially and then some. So the sooner you realize that a business is people, systems and processes going towards a vision, you need to, number one, you need to read the E-Myth, which lays this out for you. But number two, you need to speak to someone who has done this before, okay? And I'll just be frank, the accountant who has, I think, never started a business and has come up through the ranks, or has never at least seen a business go through this transition and do these things, you need to find someone who has done this before, whether it's a friend, whether it's an accountant, someone you know has started a successful business and has taken it out of that place of 200-300 grand where you're churning your wheels, you're doing everything, you're burnt out, all these different things. You need to talk to someone, and you need to develop systems and processes, people, and set a vision to build a business beyond yourself, if that's what you want. If you want to keep burning your wheels and moving around that 200-300 grand turnover, and that's all right with you, go ahead and do that. I have no problems with that either. John? Sorry.
No, that's fine.
We've got little guys coming into us and they're saying, oh, my boss is trying to force me to go on ABN.
Yeah.
My boss is trying to force me to go on ABN. And why is your boss trying to force you to go on ABN? Because the government doesn't care about your boss and is putting payroll tax on your boss, okay, that he can't afford because his business is being neglected. He's turning around saying, oh, I can't afford to have all these employees. You need to go now from employee to ABN so I can avoid paying payroll tax or get out of this obligation or that one, which doesn't actually get him out of any obligations. It's just a shortcut that doesn't work. Yeah. And all that's doing, the government is crushing these medium and small size businesses, and they're pushing it down onto the little guy, and then the little guy's left holding the bag. Yeah, the little guy's left holding the bag. He's forced to be a subby for his boss, forced to have to set up a company, forced to have to pay GST, lodge BAS, do all these things that he's not even running the business.
To earn the same money.
To earn less money than he was earning as an employee, and the boss turns around and says to him, oh, mate, I was paying you $60 an hour before, but now you're a subby, I'll pay you 65. What about the GST? What about the workers' comp? What about the annual leave? What about the sick leave? Who's going to pay for all those things? The super.
Yeah.
The government doesn't care. No. The government's like, oh, it's all good. We've the metrics work out. Big business is doing good. Who cares about small business? Not the government.
Yeah, we're exporting. We keep the ball moving. Paddy.
Yeah, I wanted to talk back on, go back to when you were talking about working yourself into another job.
Yeah.
Very common. There's a misconception that you have freedom when you start your own business. Now, that's partially true. You do not answer to a boss. But some people need that external motivation. Sure. I know I do. I need that motivation every day. I need goals that are set by someone else.
For sure.
The goals that I set are mostly personal for myself, and my business goals are based off what John and Tufik provide me with. For
sure.
And they provide me with very ambitious goals, which is great for me because it pushes me. It pushes me to be better every day.
For sure.
So I don't think everyone is made for being a small business owner.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the point where compliance is an issue.
Yeah.
I think people find themselves in a hole really quickly.
I agree.
Really, really quickly.
I agree. A bit of income, a few bazzers behind, all of a sudden we're talking about like, you're in a hole here. We've got payment plans we've got to pay, plus you got to put aside for your new bazzers.
I wish sometimes, I wish that I met some of my clients a year or two before I actually met them. 100%. Because they've got to the point where they've got so much tax overdue, so much overdue obligations. And the big problem is they're personally liable.
Yeah.
Small business owners don't know that if you do not go see your accountant straight away and lodge the BAS straight away, you become personally liable for the debt. Then the roof over your kid's head is the one they sell to come, kick you out, bankrupt you, and pay off the tax. That's ridiculous, all right? 100%. That happens in this country. 100%. But the truth is small business owners are getting their homes taken off them to pay off tax debt because they're personally liable, because they're not seeing an accountant at the beginning of the arrangement. And don't tell me that's not happening. Yeah, because I come from a family where I had a dad that traded as a sole trader. Yeah. We lost our home. Do you know what I mean? My dad had to go bankrupt because his business failed for no fault of his own, okay? And he didn't have the advice and the structure set up so that he could keep the family home together and keep our family together.
Yeah.
So there's other Australians that are facing that right now, okay? Go see your accountant on day one. Absolutely. If you're thinking about setting up a business, go see your accountant. Set up the structures that give you coverage for liability. Set up your family trust. Do things right. Understand your obligations. Lodge on time. Does it all suck? Yeah, it sucks. But it's going to suck more when you don't do it. They come and sell your house. They bankrupt you. And your kids are on the street and your wife leaves you.
Absolutely.
Does that go back to education?
100%. 100%.
Should we be educated about this when
absolutely we don't. Why don't we educate? Because we don't believe that's the dream for people. We don't believe the dream in Australia is to go get a job so you can buy your house, not to start a business. Yeah. So if we reframe that, we would then educate our younger folks and forget young. We would educate everyone on the steps you need to do to start, the steps you need to go through to start a business, and just for the record, we've ranted for
Yeah.
for a bit, but if you are in a situation where you don't understand your obligations, you feel like you're drowning in red tape, you feel like you've never had anything explained to you, you know, your accountant speaks down to you and you don't have someone you can communicate with, reach out to us. We will offer you a free bro, even if I can just get you in for a discovery meeting to educate you on the things I wish you knew when you first started your business, it's worth it. So book in a call with anyone.
Call
from our
us. We'll
team.
teach you everything possible for free, just so you know what to do. Whether you use us or not, we'll sit down with you and we will tell you, hey, don't do this. You're going to make a big mistake. Do it this way. It's not going to cost you a thing. Just speak to us. Speak to someone. Speak to someone before you do it. There is hope. There is success. We do live in a beautiful country. And if you do things perfectly right all the way through, you may be able to make it. But you need to really take the compliance, take the accounting seriously. And there's hope.
Absolutely.
And the future is bright.
Absolutely.
The
This is
future
right,
is
baby.
bright.
Paddy, I want to end off with this. I just want to hear some final words of wisdom from Pat El-bitar. I feel like I want to hear more from you in this podcast. So on that note, if you could give a small business owner any advice, whether they're starting or growing their small business,
Yep.
from what you've seen in small businesses, what's the one key piece of advice that you would give to help a small business owner become successful?
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot.
Okay.
Well, the most important thing is you need to see an accountant straight away.
Yep.
And I know it's a bit weird coming from an accountant. It might sound a bit weird.
Yep.
But you need to understand your numbers. You need to make sure that you're doing everything right from the get-go. The worst mistake, I can only answer that question based off the mistakes I've seen in the past. Clients come to us too little, too late.
Yep.
Like you said, they opened the company, they thought they're safe. They thought they had this corporate veil between themselves and the company.
Love it.
It doesn't exist if you lodge late.
Yep.
It's gone.
Yep.
So know your obligations, do it right, be compliant, and then there's options.
Yep.
Okay? If something goes sour, there are options
Yep.
that we can talk about when it comes time. But yeah,
Absolutely. Love it. Great advice. John, I'll ask you the same question. The one piece of advice you would give to a small business owner who's looking to start or grow to ensure that they're successful. We've talked about all the problems. What's the solution?
The one piece of advice I'd give a small business owner to separate them from those that fail and those that succeed is you must go into a business that is profitable.
For sure.
Profit is the king of business. If your business has, I'm going to make it really simple, more income than expenses, that business cannot fail. If your business makes more revenue than it has expenses, it's going to be super hard for that to fail. It's a basic concept, but so many people don't understand it. Sit down, do a feasibility, do a business plan and say, on the financial side, is my income going to be coming from here or here? How am I going to get my income up? What are my costs going to be? And the sooner a business gets from startup to profit, the higher the chance of success.
100%. Love to hear it.
just on that note,
For sure.
a lot of new business owners, they spend more than that what they make,
For sure.
and that goes directly into your profits. What they're not understanding is the GST needs to go. The pay-as-you-go withholding is included in your profit and loss. All of these are included, okay? And there's other hidden costs to owning a business. The money in the bank is not your profit. I'm sorry, okay?
100%.
It could be not. It's not yours. It may not be yours.
Absolutely. The one thing I would say to any small business owner is that, yes, your product's important. Yes, your systems are important. Everything, all these little things are important in your business. But the most important thing as a business owner is you and your ability to operate a business. The skills that got you in employment and being a good employee are not the same skills that a business requires. So
Invest in yourself.
Absolutely. Invest in the best investment you can make is in yourself. And the sooner you become a better operator, a better manager, a better leader, a better visionary, a better, a better person at numbers, at being creative, all these different things will help you build the business of your dreams. And self-development, investing in yourself, your business will only get as big as you are as a person, not physically, but mentally. And so that would be my advice. Alrighty. let's wrap up. I'm happy to cut it there. So
We should
boys,
do the Zumba.
Zumba, zoom, Zumba, za, Zumba, Zumba, ra, ra, ra. Eagles blue, Eagles gold.
Eagles red, so loyal and bold.
For the Kemba, Zumba, za, Eagles, Eagles, ra, ra, ra. STJOHNS St. John's.
Good stuff. Thank you. We'll see you on the next episode of the Lat Chat.